Hello everybody, and welcome to a very special episode. Today I'm going to be showing you my Virtual Vaporwave Cassettes. Vaporwave, if you don't know what it is, I'm going to link in the description and up in the notification that should have just popped up a link to Wolfenstein OS X's history of Vaporwave video. It's a very comprehensive video and way more in depth than I care to get into in this video. But a brief overview of Vaporwave is it's a genre that I kind of describe as a mix between plunderphonics and dream pop, chamber pop, a whole bunch of different things, mostly dream pop. And plunderphonics, and if the pretentiousness of those two genres didn't immediately scare you off, then I recommend checking it out. It's mostly produced by taking samples from 80s disco, funk, commercials, Japanese songs all over the place, and reworking them into a new product. And that's something I'm going to kind of get into with these tapes. Virtual is my favorite producer in the Vaporwave genre. It's really the one that got me hooked into it. Of course, I listened to Macintosh Plus's Floral Shop. That's pretty much where everyone got into it, except for the very, very early adopters. But Virtual was the producer that made me fall in love with it. Virtual, the album I fell in love with, was just a tiny release at the time. It was a one-album release called Virtual Taikichibunzuki. I believe that's it. I don't know if I pronounced it right, but it more or less stands for Virtual Weather Analysis. And they had this really cool aesthetic to them where it was kind of, I think the conceit was that Virtual was like a Vaporwave weather station. Basically what they did was a weather channel where basically what they did was they would take weather analysis and produce it into music, and it had this really great ambient sort of sound. Eventually that album got renamed into Atmospheres No. 1 and was released alongside Atmospheres No. 2, and those are the two cassettes I'm going to be talking about today. There are actually four Virtual albums, or five kind of, four and an EP. There's Atmospheres 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then a soundtrack to a documentary that they made, and I will post the link to their albums and the documentary in the description. Really check out all the albums. I really recommend their music. Even if you don't know anything about Vaporwave, I suggest checking out because it's a really chill album, and it's really good, I guess, background music, but it's got a really nice chill groove to it that I really think anyone could get into. What happened was, after Atmospheres 1 and 2 came out of nowhere on, I believe it was their Twitter or Facebook, they announced that they were selling cassettes of the albums. It was on their big cartel site, which is no longer active, or at least it's still there, but there's nothing listed there. And the two albums were listed. And I bought them, I want to say, within minutes of going live. I think I might be the first person to have bought them, but I will get into that a bit later. I bought the set, which was Atmospheres No. 1 and Atmospheres No. 2. Atmospheres No. 1 was the renaming of the EP that I told you about, and it is genuinely one of my favorite albums of all time. It's more or less remixed versions of Sade instrumental, with, I think, a little Kenny G thrown in there, but don't quote me on that. But either way, it sounds really, really nice. It's got a good weather sort of aesthetic to it. A lot of the tracks are named after different cloud formations and different type of weather, and it's just a really nice sounding chill album. The aesthetic of the actual cassette is really, really nice. It's got the album art on the front, and it's got a blue cassette with a cloud background on the printing. The inside shows ferns and the names of the tracks on what's each side. It's a really nice, well put together. Both of them are really well put together, and it's just a really nice thing to look at. My favorite track on Atmospheres #1 has to be Acid Rain. I think it's just a beautiful track. They sample rain over a Sade loop, but it really sounds really relaxing. It's a track I always go to, and it's just really, really nice. I really like rain sound. I sometimes listen to it to fall asleep, so it's just a really relaxing track for me. Atmospheres #2 is the follow-up album, which personally is not as good. I think it's a bit of a departure. Not totally, but it's just nowhere. It never reaches the quality that Atmospheres #1 really reaches. It's still worth a listen, but it's just, don't expect, if you really liked Atmospheres #1, don't expect the exact same level of quality. And I would say, out of all 4 of the albums, the quality really goes from best to worst. Would be 1, 4, 2, 3. 2 was a good follow-up, not perfect. 3 was a little bit disappointing, and then 4 I felt really got back to the roots of 1, and it just listen to all of them. I'd suggest they're really short albums. Each one's like 40 minutes in length, and it's just worth sitting through, because they're just all really nice. This cassette, it's got the album art on the front, sideways though, because you have to fit on a cassette, and it's got the track listing on the inside with a tile background and some ferns, or is it ferns or aloe? Yeah, aloe plants. And the cassette itself is purple with aloe plants on it. And it's just a really cute design, really great package. It's really aesthetically pleasing. The fun fact about the album art for this one, I actually have this painting, a reproduction of it, hanging up in one of the rooms of my house. It's been here, I think, longer than I've been alive. I think my parents picked it up at a museum, and it was something I grew up with. So when they released Atmospheres #2, I was actually really excited because they used a piece of art that I've just always been exposed to, and it just made the album a little bit more special for me. My favorite track on Atmospheres #2 is the song Eden. It's not really remixed. It's not all that much changed up, but it's just a slightly edited track from a video game soundtrack. I forget which, but if you look it up, you can find it out there. But it's a really nice track, and I think it fits really well in the album. And that's really the thing about Eco Virtual's sound is they don't really change up the audio all that much. The editing is very light, but as a cohesive project, it sounds really nice and really new, and it creates its own sound all together that's really, really enjoyable to listen to. And it's more about the sum of its parts rather than the parts individually. An interesting thing about the cassettes, there's 2 things I want to go into here. Both cassettes have the bonus track that I did not know about. The bonuses is after the cassette's finished, with all the tracks, I think there was just some empty space. So what Eco Virtual decided to do was throw on field recordings, and more or less you just have audio of like a forest, or you just hear some birds and some forest sounds, and it's really, really nice. It was a good surprise when I first listened to the cassettes, hearing at the end the bird sounds and the forest sounds and just the nature sounds, and it fits in really well with the album. And it's something super special to have on the cassette. Something I want to get into with the Atmospheres #2 cassette is there's actually some mistakes on here. You have actually errors with the track listing. What they kind of did, it's kind of obvious what they did, was they took the track listing from Atmospheres #1 and just changed the lettering, but they actually made a mistake in doing that. It lists tracks 1 through 6 on here, but track 5 is wrong. It's Nimbostratus, which is actually track 5, Atmospheres #1. So really, side A is tracks 1 through 6, but it reads like it's only track 1 through 5. It's a bit of a mess up. And on top of that, they also don't list my favorite song on here, which is Eden. I think it's just because they ran out of room, because both albums are 10 tracks long, and missing a song, it looks like they thought they didn't include it. I don't know what it was, but there was a mistake there. I don't know how they didn't catch it, but they didn't. And while it is a mess up, I actually kind of enjoy that. It's a bit interesting because it creates this bootleg feel, and Vaporwave's all about that bootleg feel. And I think it actually adds to the specialness of the cassette, even though it's a total obvious mistake. One thing I want to point out is on both cassettes, if you take out the cassette, take out the paper, it says on the inside production number. On the outside it says first edition, which I don't think they ever released second edition runs, but it shows the logo as well as 1 of 20, or your number out of 20. The interesting thing is both of these say 1 out of 20. Now, I don't know if they actually changed the number for each cassette, or if all of them say 1 out of 20, because I've never seen anyone else say they have the cassette, but mine say 1 out of 20, so there's a good chance I actually do have the first 2 cassettes off the line for the official production, which is kind of really cool, especially because it's such a limited production. And to have the first of them, it's something I appreciate. I don't think it adds any real value to the cassettes, especially with production number that low, but also with interest that low. I don't know if it actually means anything, but I at least appreciate it. And that's basically it for these cassettes. There's not much more I can say about them, beyond just I think they're really interesting. If you want to get them, I really don't know what to tell you at this point. They're really, really hard to find. I've never seen them listed anywhere. I've never seen anyone say they have them. People who do have them might be selling them. I see Vaporwave cassettes go on sale quite often secondhand. Tend to be expensive though because of the low production cost and also the low demand, even though that should lower the cost. I don't know how supply and demand works for Vaporwave. Keep an eye out for them if you're really interested in the cassettes. I will never be selling mine, so don't even ask. If you haven't listened to Ego Virtual's catalog, please take a listen. Once again, link is in the description. They're great. I really like Ego Virtual. They've kind of gone silent recently. Their Twitter bot stopped updating. They stopped posting on Facebook, and I haven't heard anything from them. It's a bit sad because they were genuinely one of my favorite producers, being that I never got into Blank Banshee or Macross or Dream Catalog, or I never really got into many of the producers. There were a couple I really like. Business Casual has some stuff I really enjoy, but Ego Virtual is genuinely my favorite, and I hope they show up again one day, because I know I'll be the first to listen if they do. In the comments below, tell me what's your favorite Vaporwave album. I'm interested in recommendations because everyone seems to have an album that I've never heard of before. Or if you've never listened to Vaporwave and you'd be interested to hear me talk more about it, tell me. I'll love to put together a video if people are interested. I have 2 more Vaporwave albums I'm going to be covering soon, so look out for that. But if you'd like me to maybe even give my own history video, or just give my thoughts of the genre as a whole, or just anything about it, please tell me, because, you know, I'm interested in this stuff, and I like talking about the things I'm interested in, and that's kind of the point of this channel. Like always, favorite, subscribe. What year is it? Like the video if you liked it, leave a comment if you liked it, just interact with it if you liked it, and subscribe if you like more content. I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff on this channel. I'm jumping everywhere, so I'm going to be doing some music stuff, video game stuff, anime stuff, all over the place. This channel is really just whatever I'm interested in, and that's a whole bunch of things. So if you're interested in just a potpourri of kind of information, then subscribe, and I'll look for you around, I guess. I don't know how to make it worth your while. Just subscribe. and I'll appreciate it quite a bit.